Welcome to CEC lectures. Myself Dr. Preeti Jagwani. I am from Department of Computer Science, Aryabhat College, University of Delhi. So as you all are aware that we have started with a new series of operating system concepts, and in the first lecture which we all are done with, we have covered what is actually an operating system and what is its kind of a standing or existence within the computer system. So along with a quick recap, let me begin with this lecture which focuses on the two views of the operating system. One is the user's view and another one is the system's view. But before starting today's lecture, let us recap the previous one in a quick manner. So the computer is basically taken as a system. Within that system we have hardware, software, firmware and liveware, and then within the software component or the element of the software we have application software and system software. So system software is there to perform the system related task, and operating system is one of the very important concept, or we can say very important sub element of system software. It provides kind of an interface or intermediary between the user and the hardware. It provides an ease of use for the user. On the other hand, it also control the computer hardware for its efficient performance. Now looking at the functions of the operating system, I can say the operating system is basically a software which provides the means for proper use of all of the resources of the computer system, or I can say the operating system provides the means for proper use of the resources in the operation of a computer system. So whatever task I am going to execute with the help of a computer system, there will be lot many resources which are involved in that execution. For example, if we have some memory, so that's an storage resource. If we have some data which is written inside some files, so we have some file resources. If the data is going to be shown on the screen, or it is going to be printed onto the printer, so that is kind of an output resource. Similarly, we can have input devices as the resources also, and the most important resource is the processor, or the most important resource is the kind of we can say CPU, or simply we can say the processor. So all these resources are actually we can say are required in order to perform a particular application, and operating system is there to provide the means for proper use of these resources. So basically it is like a manager, or we can say it is like an government to the computer system, which simply provides an environment within which other programs can do some very useful works. So the way government provides us the kind of ways, or the environment or the facilities in which our users work can be executed, similarly operating system provides an environment within which other programs can do some useful work. So basically it works maybe like a government, or we can say if we talk about the controlled usage or efficient usage of hardware resources, so it is also like a controller which is going to use which is going to allow the proper use of the hardware resources. Now looking at the operating system, if we talk about that, there are or it acts as an intermediary between the user and the system, or between the user and the hardware. So if you can see it layer wise, there is a layer which says user, then there is an operating system, and then there is hardware. So if we say hardware is the machinery or system component, then we have operating system in between, and then we have a user. So this operating system can be seen from the bottom, which comprises of the systems view, that how system is going to perceive this operating system, and if seen from top we can have one more view which is more specifically known as the user view. So if we talk about the operating system, or if we try to understand the operating system, we need to understand both, that is the user's view of the operating system, or we can say the user's perception of the operating system. Similarly, what is the system's perception about the operating system. So now, coming to the explanation of these two perception or these two views, let us try to understand first the user view. Now, user view, as the name indicates, how users see the operating system or how user perceives an operating system. So for user, an operating system is actually an interface which is provided by the computer to the user, and this interface is actually helping the user in order to we can say in order to control, or in order to control the hardware system, or we can say in order to get the task done from the computer hardware. So for example, as I have told you in the previous lecture also, I as a user, let's say, want to play some music, or want to write a letter, or want to type a document. So what would I do? I need to have a desktop screen first, in terms of I am talking about in terms of GUI, which is graphical user interface. So I need to have a desktop first, and then that from that desktop I'll open the application, particular application software, and do my task. So what is this desktop? This desktop is nothing but a component of the operating system. So I as a user, I want to monopolize my resources with a particular goal in mind, that whatever work I want to do, whatever task I want to do, that should be done maximally, I can say. So that is something which I need to do, and also I need some ease of work. So ease of work, let me try to compare here the previous operating system, let's say DOS, this operating system, that was a command line interface, a CLI. Now what we need to do in order to even to start typing a file, we need to memorize a particular command, and that file will be opened with the help of a command. Coming to the Windows, if I am talking about typing a file or writing something into a file, what I need to do? I just need to click on the open button within that particular application software. So as a user, what I am going to have day by day from operating system is the ease of use, I can say. So for user, an operating system is a kind of interface which is providing an easy access to the system. So from user's point of view, I can say the ease of use is something which is very, very important. Performance is also something, a parameter which is required, but from a user's point of view, a little attention is paid to the performance, yes. So ease of use should be there, good performance should be there, because no one likes the slow services. But coming to the another term, which is resource utilization, that is how this hardware and software resources, it could be a file, it could be some memory space, or it could be an input output devices. So all these are examples of hardware and software resources. So how these hardware and software resources are going to be utilized, that is something which is out of the purview of the user. User is focused on an easy interface, or I can say a ease of use, along with some attention being paid to the performance. But no attention from a user's point of view is required for the resource utilization, whether it could be a hardware resource or it could be a software resource. performance, yes, it is important to the user, but as far as a single user or a system with a single user experience is concerned, it is a kind of less of a requirement rather than the requirements of multiple users. So if I am talking about there are various users, or there are, let us say, 10 users which are working on a particular computer, or they are sitting on the terminal connected to the mainframe or the mini computer. So the processing capabilities are with the mainframe or the mini computer. These 10 users are sitting at their terminal connected to that particular mainframe computer or mini computer, and whatever commands or whatever task these 10 users are sending to the main computer, which is a mainframe or a mini computer or mainframe is processing that task and sending the output back to the user. So now there are 10 such users which are accessing one single computer through their own dedicated terminals. So what is happening here? These users are actually sharing some resources, these users may exchange some information, and these users are accessing one single computer or the resources of that particular mainframe or mini computer through other terminals. So this is basically a multi-user scenario. Now in this multi-user scenario, performance is more of the concern for a user, and operating system in such cases is designed with a particular goal in mind, and the goal is to maximize resource utilization. So whatever resources are available with that mainframe or mini computer, all those resources should be utilized in a very proper and optimized way, and to assure that all the available CPU time, which is the processor time, the memory and input output devices are used efficiently, and no individual user takes more than her fair share. So basically, let us say user 1 is giving some such task which is blocking the whole mainframe computer, and all other 9 users are sitting for their turn. So that is not a good scenario. So operating system here has to kind of intervene in between in order to divide the resources, in order to make the available resources in some such manner that everyone should have their kind of fair share, I can say. So basically, operating system in these kind of multi-user scenarios will be designed to compromise between individual usability and the resource utilization. So usability will be a little less, but the resource utilization will be more. And if we are going to compromise on the resource utilization, individual usability will obviously increase, because with no proper utilization you can dedicate all the resources to a single user, but that is not the way. So operating system is designed in order to make a balance, I can say, between individual usability and resource utilization in case of a multi-user scenario. So if I am talking about a single user scenario, performance is little of a concern, resource utilization is not at all concern there. But if I am talking about a multi-user scenario, yes, performance is more of a concern, and also resource utilization is a concern. So what I am trying to say here is, the point is, what kind of scenario you are going to look into, that scenario is going to define the purpose or the way in which the operating system must have been designed. So if it is a multi-user scenario, the goal of the operating system will be somewhat different. Ease of use, yes, is with the user's perception. A user always see an operating system as a good operating system if it is easy to use. So obviously, if you compare DOS, which is disk operating system, and Windows, you will have Windows as the priority because it is giving you ease of use. So now, whether it is a single user or it is a multi-user, the operating system design goal is somewhat a bit different. Along with the ease of use, the I can say trade off is between the performance, or which is the resource utilization, and the usability of the usability for the users. Now coming to let us say now we have one of a very common device which we are using here day in and day out, is that mobile. And mobile is something which is also having an operating system. So most mobile devices are, we can say, standalone units for individual user. There is no such experience, or there is no such common experience in which a mobile is being used by, let us say, 10 users, and those 10 users are connected to the mobile in some such in a different manner. That is not the case. So that's basically a standalone unit for individual user. And what is the interface? So if we talk about the interface which is provided by a mobile operating system, is basically you have a touch screen, and that touch facility is the interface through which a user is interacting with the mobile device. So I can say the user interface for mobile computers generally features a touch screen where the user interacts with the system by either pressing or swiping the fingers across the screen, rather than using a physical keyboard and mouse. So we don't have any physical keyboard and mouse as far as scenario of a mobile is concerned. So here, what kind of ease, performance, yes, of course matters, but what kind of ease your user is looking for as far as mobile operating system is concerned. So user will be having gist for a interface which is easy to use, easy to press and swipe, and most of the common applications, or we can say most of the common functions which a user will be performing should be kind of very handy or easily accessible. So that interface ease of access is something which is requested, which is kind of expected from a mobile operating system. So here, if you can see in this lecture till this point, we have established that when an operating system is sitting between the computer hardware and the user, there are two views of looking into the operating system. One is a user view, another one is a system view. So that if we look into the user view, what are the requirements from a user's point of view? One is the ease of use or usability, I can say. The another one is performance, and the third one is resource utilization. So resource utilization is something which is very less important to the user unless the users are working in a multi-user scenario. In a single individual user scenario, performance is performance is important up to an extent, but the most important thing is ease of use. Considering the mobile scenario, we have seen that the again ease of use is a requirement here. But if we talk about a multi-user scenario, performance is also a factor which is very, very important. So in this way, a user sees an operating system. Now coming to the second half of the story, which says the system view. What will be the system view of an operating system, or how a system here, it actually depends, it is actually the whole computer, more specifically hardware I am talking about. So how a system is going to perceive about the operating system, or what are the expectation of a system from the operating system. So operating system, as far as system view is concerned, it's basically a program which is most, I can say, intimately involved with the hardware. So in this context, we can all view an operating system as a resource allocator. So there are different resources, could be some software resources, could be some hardware resources. How these resources are going to be allocated, if there are more than one programs running, or if there are more than one users working on the system, That's the task of the resource allocator, and this resource allocator is none other than our own operating system. Also, there are kind of many resources I can say, which are CPU time, memory space, file storage spaces, input output devices, and so on. So this operating system is going to act as the manager of these resources. These resources are controlled and managed by the operating system. So if there are kind of conflicting requests for the resources, it is operating system who is going to decide how a particular resource is to be allocated. For example, I am talking about file which is in a read mode, and on a mini computer or on a mainframe computer, this file is requested by, let's say, 3 users on the same time. So if it is in read mode, fine, all the 3 can use it, but if the file is in the write mode, all 3 cannot use it simultaneously. So here the resource, which is the file, is having or the operating system is having possibly conflicting request in terms of a write mode file for this operating system is having conflicting requested for this resource, which is the file. Now it's up to the operating system who is going to decide how to allocate this file to which particular user, to which particular job, when and for how much time, and this is done according to the preset policies. The operating system is having its own predefined policies. We will be looking into these policies also in the course of this lecture. So basically the idea here is to make the computer system operate efficiently and fairly, and who is going to manage this whole chaos? It is the operating system. And not only this, but there is also a need to control the various input output devices and programs. It is just not kind of simple management, it also needs some control. So operating system is basically, you can say, a control program which manages the execution of user program in order to prevent the error and improper use of the computer. So there can be improper use of the computer or its resources, for example, hijacking of the resources by one particular computer user. So operating there is to this operating system is there to resolve this conflict. So basically it will prevent the errors and improper use of the computer, and it is also concerned with the operation and control of input output devices. So what we have covered? We have covered 2 views of the operating system. One is the user view, which includes ease of use, somewhat performance, but not resource allocation majorly. From system point of view, if we look into the operating system, it is a program which basically acts as a controller and also the resource allocator. So which resource for how much time is and when is going to be given to a particular job or a user, that is a decision which operating system has to take according to the predefined policies, or even the control of input output devices is in the hands of operating system. So with this whole kind of we can say basic or foundation, can we really define the operating system, or are we in a position to give a formal definition of the operating system? So operating system, if we see, it covers many roles and functions, and we are kind of into description of this roles and functions since 2 lectures. So basically I can say functions of controlling and allocating resources, also providing the ease of access to the users, is actually brought together into one piece of software, and that software is nothing but the operating system. Now what kind of modules we are going to kind of include inside the operating system, or what all is included in operating system? So that depends actually what kind of operating system you are looking for. You are looking for a single user, you are looking for a multi-user, or you are looking for a mobile operating system. So these features includes the features which will be included, they vary greatly across the system. So depend upon the system, what kind of system you are into, the operating system will have some different module kind of say. And because of these different configurations or different modules, some systems take up less than a megabyte of space. So if you look into those legacy systems of DOS, there were only 3 files, command.com, ms-dos.sys and io.sys, and that whole kind of 3 operating system files, that means a complete disk operating system, can be carried inside a floppy. And this actually we can say that lagged even a full screen editor. But now if you see, let's say Windows, it requires gigabytes of space, or we can say megabytes of space. So what all is included and how huge it is going to be, that entirely based on that entirely depends on what all facilities you are looking into this. So basically, if you need a simple operating system even without a full screen editor, that goes into 1.2 MB floppy as I told you, or it may require MB or GB of the space which is based on graphical windowing system. So entirely depends on it, very greatly across the systems. Or on the other end, if we can see operating system for mobile devices, so we see that a number of features depends what kind of operating system, what constitute the operating system. So basically this is what all about, we can say, a user's perception and the perception of the system. Then we have seen what is actually the I can say formal definition of the operating system, looking at both the perspectives. And after this formal definition of the operating system, there is a watertight compartment that what all should be included in the operating system. So we say, or definitely not, because that vary depending upon the requirement. So this is what we have all covered in this particular lecture, and here is a list of references which is being used in preparation of the lecture. Hope you have enjoyed it. Thank you for a patient hearing.